Assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Forgotten Islamic History. Throughout human history there have been substances that promised happiness, confidence, escape, and pleasure. Kings drank them in their palaces. Warriors celebrated victories with them. Merchants traded them across continents. Entire civilizations built cultures around them. Yet despite all of this, one substance continued to leave behind the same trail wherever it went. Broken families, lost judgment, violence, regret, and spiritual decline. Today we are exploring one of the most controversial topics in human history, alcohol. Why did Islam prohibit it? Why does the Quran describe it as one of the works of Shaytan? What role did intoxicants play in ancient civilizations? And what can history teach us about the dangers of losing control over the human mind? This is not merely a story about a drink. It is a story about human nature, temptation, and the battle between self-control and desire. Long before the rise of modern nations, people were already producing intoxicating beverages. Archaeological discoveries show that ancient societies in Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and other regions knew methods of fermentation thousands of years ago. Wine and beer became common parts of social gatherings and royal ceremonies. Ancient Egypt provides some of the earliest evidence of alcohol production. Paintings found in tombs show workers producing beverages from grains and fruits. Alcohol was consumed during celebrations and religious festivals. Similar practices existed among the civilizations of Mesopotamia, where large cities flourished between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. As civilizations became more powerful, alcohol often became a symbol of wealth and status. The wealthy drank expensive wines while the poor consumed cheaper fermented drinks. Over time, drinking became deeply connected with entertainment and social life. Yet historical records reveal another side of the story. Ancient writings frequently describe drunkenness leading to violence, poor judgment, family conflicts, and moral decline. Many rulers struggled to control excessive drinking among their populations. Even in societies where alcohol was accepted, its destructive effects were well known. This pattern repeated itself again and again throughout history. Human beings discovered that alcohol could temporarily change emotions. It could reduce fear, lower inhibitions, and create feelings of pleasure. However, these effects came with a cost. The same substance that appeared to offer freedom often took away a person's ability to think clearly. Islam would later describe this reality with remarkable precision. The Arabic word commonly used for alcohol in Islamic discussions is khamr. Linguistically, khamr refers to something that covers or conceals. Scholars explained that intoxicants are called khamr because they cover the intellect. The intellect is one of the greatest gifts given by Allah. It allows human beings to distinguish truth from falsehood. It enables moral responsibility. It separates humans from animals. Through the intellect, people understand revelation, reflect upon creation, and recognize their creator. When intoxication covers the intellect, judgment becomes impaired. A person may say things they would never normally say. They may commit actions they would never normally commit. They may hurt those they love. They may damage their future in a single moment of weakness. This is why Islam places such importance on protecting the mind. The Quran did not initially prohibit alcohol all at once. Instead, Allah prepared the believers gradually. The first stage encouraged reflection. Allah says, "They ask you about wine and gambling. Say, in them is great sin and some benefit for people, but their sin is greater than their benefit." This verse acknowledged a reality that remains true even today. certain benefits may exist, whether financial, social, or temporary emotional effects. However, the overall harm outweighs those benefits. The second stage restricted alcohol further. Believers were instructed not to approach prayer while intoxicated. This ruling forced Muslims to become increasingly aware of the conflict between intoxication and worship. Prayer requires concentration, humility, and awareness before Allah. Intoxication weakens all of these qualities. Finally came the decisive command. Allah declared, "O you who believe, indeed wine, gambling, idols, and divining arrows are filth from the work of Shaytan, so avoid them that you may be successful." The reaction of the companions was extraordinary. When they heard this command, they did not search for loopholes. They did not ask how much alcohol would be acceptable. They did not demand scientific studies. Instead, they obeyed. Containers were emptied. Alcohol flowed through the streets of Medina. A society that had lived with drinking for generations abandoned it for the sake of Allah. This remains one of the most remarkable social transformations in history. Why did the Quran connect alcohol with Shaytan? Islam teaches that Shaytan seeks to create distance between people and Allah. One of his goals is to weaken remembrance of Allah. Another is to create hatred and conflict among people. The Quran specifically states that Shaytan seeks to sow enmity and hatred through intoxicants and gambling and to prevent people from remembering Allah and performing prayer. Consider how often conflicts arise when people lose control of their emotions. Arguments become fights. Minor disagreements become major disputes. Words spoken in anger destroy relationships that took years to build. Many crimes throughout history have involved intoxication. Islam recognized this reality centuries before modern criminology and psychology studied it scientifically. The Prophet Muhammad also issued powerful warnings regarding intoxicants. He taught that every intoxicant is khamr and every khamr is prohibited. This principle extended beyond specific drinks. The concern was not merely the source of the substance but its effect on the mind. Anything that intoxicates and removes sound judgment falls under the same warning. The wisdom behind this ruling becomes clearer when we examine human behavior. A person under the influence often feels more confident than they actually are. They may believe they are thinking clearly while making irrational decisions. They may underestimate risks. They may engage in dangerous activities. They may become vulnerable to manipulation. The loss of self-control creates opportunities for mistakes that can have lifelong consequences. Islam therefore seeks to protect 5 essential things: religion, life, intellect, lineage, and property. Alcohol threatens several of these protections simultaneously. It can damage intellect. It can endanger life. It can harm families. It can waste wealth. And it can weaken religious commitment. History provides countless examples. In ancient Rome, extravagant drinking parties became symbols of excess among parts of the elite class. In medieval societies, alcohol-related problems frequently appeared in legal records and religious writings. In modern times, the scale has become even greater. Road accidents, domestic violence, addiction, health problems, and economic losses continue to affect millions of people around the world. Despite advances in technology, medicine, and education, humanity still struggles with the same problem recognized centuries ago. The temporary pleasure often conceals long-term consequences. One of the most important lessons from Islamic teachings is that sins rarely appear dangerous at the beginning. Temptation usually arrives in attractive packaging. People are shown enjoyment, excitement, acceptance, and pleasure. The consequences often remain hidden until much later. This pattern is not unique to alcohol. It applies to many forms of temptation. Shaytan beautifies harmful actions and makes them appear harmless. Islam teaches believers to think beyond the immediate moment. A wise person asks not only, "What do I want right now?" but also, "Where will this choice lead me?" This mindset protects individuals from many forms of regret. Another important aspect often overlooked is the relationship between self-control and spiritual growth. The stronger a person's self-discipline becomes, the stronger their ability to resist temptation. Fasting in Ramadan develops this quality. Prayer strengthens this quality. Regular remembrance of Allah strengthens this quality. Acts of worship train believers to control desires rather than be controlled by them. Alcohol works in the opposite direction. It weakens restraint. It lowers barriers. It encourages impulsive behavior. This is one reason why Islamic spirituality emphasizes clarity of mind and consciousness. The believer seeks awareness, not intoxication. Reflection, not confusion. Remembrance, not forgetfulness. As we look back through history, we find a consistent lesson. Civilizations rise and fall. Empires appear and disappear. Technologies change. Cultures evolve. Yet human nature remains remarkably similar. The same desires, weaknesses, and temptations continue to accompany humanity from one generation to the next. The Quran addresses these realities not merely as historical facts but as timeless truths. Its guidance remains relevant because human beings continue to face the same fundamental challenges. The story of alcohol is therefore not simply a story about a beverage. It is a story about choices. It is a story about self-control. It is a story about whether people allow desires to govern them or whether they govern their desires. For Muslims, the prohibition of alcohol is not merely a restriction. It is a protection for the mind, a protection for the heart, a protection for families, a protection for society, and most importantly, a protection for the relationship between the servant and Allah. As we conclude this journey through forgotten history, remember that every civilization leaves behind lessons. Some lessons are written in monuments and ruins. Others are written in the successes and failures of human behavior. The Quran invites us to learn from both. If this video benefited you, take a moment to reflect on how Islam protects human beings through its guidance. Share this message with others and help spread authentic Islamic knowledge. May Allah protect us from harmful influences, strengthen our faith, and keep our hearts firm upon the truth. Until next time, this is Forgotten Islamic History. Assalamu alaikum.